PGA Tour Champions Learning Center. Brought to you by Tour Edge Exotics.
Hi again, welcome to Learning Center. I'm Vince Cellini. Hope you are well. And our guest on this episode is Mr. Energy on PGA Tour Champions. He's a 9-time winner on the over 50 circuit and the 2005 Players Champion. Always good to spend time with Fred Funk. Fred, how are you?
Hey, good, Vince. Great to see you, bud.
Great to see you as well. Before we start, I do have to tell you, back when I was anchoring on CNN Sports Late Night, I mispronounced your name on the air, and I got in a little bit of trouble there.
Mark
has that ever
Ruffin
happened
did the
before?
same thing on a live shot when I was at Hualalai, and I gave more crap about that than anything, but it happens.
It does. Hopefully not here, so we'll make sure we're careful.
Not, no.
So you're out in Colorado. Tell me why you're out there and what's been going on for you.
Well, I'm out in Colorado. I designed a golf course that we've been sitting on for about 4 or 5 years and getting ready to break ground, and I'm really excited about that. And then they had the Korn Ferry qualifier out here yesterday, and I was coming out for 2 reasons: to be out with Taylor and to see Rain Dance, which is the name of the golf course that we're doing. And I ended up trying to qualify myself. So I went out yesterday, teed off at 7:30, and I shot 3 under in the morning. And then I wasn't planning on doing anything for Taylor. I was just going to go back to the house, and they weren't letting anybody really watch anybody. And I said, well, heck, I'm going to watch them. And the only way I can do that is to caddy for him. So I caddied for him. So I went 36 holes walking yesterday, 118 carrying a bag, and boy, did I sleep good last night.
Well, I hope you got tipped well at the end of the day.
No, I even had to buy him dinner afterwards.
Man.
But neither one of us made it. So, nowadays you got to shoot a course record to even qualify for these things.
Isn't that something?
And,
yeah.
you have to shoot 7 or 8 under, and I shot 3, Taylor shot 2, and we didn't make it, but it was fun.
Well, speaking of which, this is on the heels of an event that you played in Northeast Florida that was with amateurs and some pros, organized by Len Matisse, a 2-time PGA Tour winner. Great guy, by the way, Lenny.
Yeah, he is. Lenny's great.
Are you going to play in more of these sort of Korn Ferry events or other events to sort of stay sharp?
No, not really. I'm not planning on doing that because we're going to start up in a month. Hopefully everything will get going and we'll get going in where the old Buick was in Grand Blanc, and now it's called the Ally Challenge, and we can't wait to get going. We have 11 tournaments scheduled. We are excited about that. We had 2 of those last 13 canceled. Boeing in Seattle canceled, and Calgary because Canada shut down. But right now we're still planning on doing the 11, and I think we have 2 majors in there. The one at Birmingham and Firestone. Firestone is awesome that we're at Firestone at Akron. We started there last year, and that's one of the best golf courses on the planet. It's the fact that Tiger won there 8 times at Firestone on a course that's that narrow and tight, and he just dominated there. But that's exciting to have that on the Champions Tour. But we're all ready to get going and excited about competing again.
Yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit more about your son Taylor in just a moment, but a couple of days before that event in Florida on June 14th, you turned 64 years old. By the way, we're Geminis, Fred, you and I.
Yeah, there you go.
So I get you. I wanted to get an update on your health. I know you didn't get a chance to start last year until the end of April with some back issues, hamstring issues. And I remember you telling me last year, you actually rigged something up to hold your hamstring in place. Can you tell us about that and how you're feeling right now?
Oh, it was basically a tourniquet. I was at Houston, and I felt my leg. I just couldn't. I was really fighting a hamstring. You don't realize how much you use a hamstring until you don't have one that's working. And I realized when football players get a hamstring injury, they don't heal very good, and you're pretty much done for a time period. But anyway, I got to Houston, and I felt a little twinge, and I took a shoestring that I had on my head cover and I tied it around my hamstring at the top, and it was basically like a tourniquet. I didn't want to get it too tight that I was cutting off the blood flow, but I had it pretty tight, and it relieved the pain, and I ended up playing, and I did that for about a month. and the hamstring finally got better. But I have been dealing with some back issues and SI issues, and it goes down in my hip and stuff. But I'm not the Bernhard Langer where he's got little issues. All of us have issues, but yeah, I wish I had the body that he had as far as not being too injured. And it's hard to play golf when you're feeling good, much less when you're beat up. But I'm trying to extend it out. I'm playing quite a bit. Actually, Vince, during that time off, it was actually the first week when everything shut down from the COVID. My wife we were having dinner. My wife said, "Why don't you start a tournament?" I said, "What are you talking about?" So, "Why don't you get a tournament for the guys that live at TPC?" And I told her, I said, I don't know whether they'll let me do that or not, but I'll ask. So I called up Andy Pasder, had this idea. I said, I didn't expect the response I got from him, but I said, thinking about starting a tournament. We have 50 guys that live in Ponte Vedra that have some sort of status on the 5 different tours, and all of them are just playing, but not really grinding on anything. And Andy said, "Hey, that's a great idea. We'll give you the stadium course because the Marriott was closed. So we had the stadium course we had 12 tournaments in a row,
Wow.
2-day tournaments. We all put up $400 and played for the purse. And we had anywhere from as little as 18 guys. In the last 4 weeks, we averaged 43 guys, and usually paid about, with that big a field with 40 some guys, we had 14 places we paid.
Awesome.
It was like $4,200 for first, $2,000 for second.
Nice.
And it dropped really quick, but it kept everybody competitive because they had to put a score on the scorecard again. It wasn't going out there playing match play where you make an 8 on a hole and just move on. Now they're playing for real.
Yeah.
In the last few weeks, when the guys were getting geared up on the regular tour with Billy Horschel, Jim Furyk, Joaquin Neiman came in. We had Harold Varner. Boy, I love Harold Varner.
Yep.
That is one awesome guy right there. He's the entertainer of entertainers. He's incredible. But we had a great 12 weeks. The best thing that came out of it, I think, was that you had all the guys that live in Ponte Vedra got to know each other, because there's always a clique system. The regular tour guys hang with their guys, and the Corn Ferry guys hang, and the Latin American, Canadian guys hang. But now we're all interacting, we're playing, we're practicing, and we would usually play on Wednesday and Thursday, and the guys would do their own thing, and then on Saturday and Sunday or Monday and Tuesday, they were gearing up again to get ready for the real deal on Wednesday and Thursday, and it was really good. And you had to really play. The guys were, all these kids are really good.
Oh yeah.
And they hit it a long way, but it was a great time. I think just having all those guys be lifelong friends now. They're going to follow each other. They pull for each other. They practice together more. I think it was the best part of the whole thing was just they were really close. We did keep it pretty quiet. We wanted to stay off social media early because we didn't want to be looked at as in a negative, because there's half the world hates the other half, and it seems like, and as much as people would think it's a great thing, the other half would think, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? So we stay within the rules. We didn't touch the pin. We weren't interacting really close and stuff, but we were out there playing golf, and it was fun.
Yeah, you got to strengthen some friendships, and that's a good thing. Regarding your health, I know you played in all 5 events to start this season, had a top 20 at the Chubb, and so I assume you're feeling better now, and that'll bring us to What's Your Edge, presented by Tour Edge Exotics. How do you stay there, Fred? Share with our viewers maybe some exercises or some precautions that you take in order to make you feel better. What's one of your favorites? What's your go-to?
Well, right now it's a lot of stretching. I'm doing a lot of range of motion stuff, and I'm doing a lot of functional training, a lot of stuff with cables. Do a lot of rotational work, and I'm trying to really maintain my range of motion in my back and in my hamstrings and in my hip flexors, all there in that core area of the body where you really rely on it, and it's getting the most twisting and turning, or the torquing of the golf swing. So I'm trying to do the best I can to get the range. I'm actually the most flexible I think I've ever been, it's helped my golf swing, and it's helped me recover easier after playing golf. I still get really sore and achy, and times my back hurts or my hip hurt, but I recover a lot quicker because my body is freer. So I think the biggest thing to learn or to take from this is, especially if you're an older golfer, is to work on that range of motion. And a lot of people, I'm gonna throw this out there, but DeChambeau's been kind of the talk right now and the craze on what he's done to his body and the transformation and his philosophy of playing golf and
Sure.
just trying to be the longest and figuring he does everything. It's a algorithm. It's a math equation. Everything is about the probability of the best way of scoring and making birdies. And his ideology, which statistically plays out, is that the closer you are to the hole, the better you are at scoring. So why not outdrive everybody? So he became the longest guy. He's up to 190 ball speed. It's crazy. But everybody's talking about what he's done with gaining strength, but DeChambeau has done a lot of work to maintain the range of motion and all the other stuff that goes into being a power hitter and yet retain and maintain all the things that go into being an all-around golfer with the wedge play, the short game, allowing his body to move and to support that speed that he's gotten and all that extra strength that he's got. So, there's a lot more to it than just one thing. So, for me, it's maintaining X amount of strength and trying to make sure I don't lose that at the age, but I'm trying to really increase my range of motion because I lost all my range of motion as my hamstrings locked down. And I think it was all interchangeable. My back got really tight because my hamstrings got really tight. And everything's related and they're connected to that pelvis. And when the pelvis gets out of position, then it's pulling in the wrong spots. And all my issues are in my back, I think, are just from injury, small injuries and lack of range of motion when you're dealing with those kind of injuries. Because it's hard to stretch a torn hamstring.
Yeah.
It's already torn. So, what do you do? And there's a catch-22 there. You got to get the strength in it. You got to try to get the strength back and the elasticity of the hamstring and the functionality of that part of your body. But at the same time, it's already injured. So you can re-injure it if you do it the wrong way. So it was always a tough battle back and forth to do it. And I lost my golf game during that whole time. I couldn't compete. I couldn't hit it far enough. And I feel really good. I feel like when I'm feeling good, I really feel like I can win again and compete again. And that's what I want to do. I want to go down fighting. Like you said, I just turned 64 and the odds are against me. All these kids, the teenagers that are 50 years old, I feel like they're just coming out of puberty almost compared to 64. And they're tough, but Bernie's amazing. And probably the biggest drive I have is I've played golf my whole life. I have a passion for the game still. I love the fraternity, the true love for the guys that I have out on the tour. We travel together. We've been beating up on each other our whole careers, and we're all really good friends. And I miss that. I don't want to lose that yet. So that's what's driving me. I don't want to be out there and not being able to be competitive. So I'm doing everything I can to be competitive. And the trick is to this effort to get that range of motion and maintain the strength and do the work I need to be competitive is to not get re-injured. So,
well, guys like yourself and Tom Lehman and Bernie, of course, have extended now these careers into 60s. And of course, before that, Hale Irwin as well. So that's a real, credit to players like yourself to continue to be competitive out there. I know how much it means to you. You mentioned Bryson DeChambeau, and that's, the distance thing has been really the talk, Fred. And I'm wondering where you kind of sit on this whole thing about, the debate about distance. I mean, are we supposed to have separate balls for tour pros and other people, or are you okay with what you see?
Yeah, I'm really torn with it right now. I would like to see, I believe that we could back the ball off a little bit for everybody, I don't want to see a separate golf ball. I think if we just added spin to a ball, that would do it, where a ball would upshoot again if it overspins, or it would curve more because it's spinning more, like the old days. I don't know if it's that easy. I'm not an engineer behind it or anything, but I don't want to have a golf ball where the guys that are short are a lot shorter.
Yeah.
So it's be a hard thing to do. It is fun to watch these kids hit it a long way, but I tell you, you're seeing the scores that we're seeing every week, course records being broken. We're seeing, 63s becoming a norm. And then last week you see a 63 by Rory, and he's 3 down to a guy after the first round. And it's not unusual anymore to see these threatening to break 60s every week on certain golf courses. And it's mainly because they're overpowering the golf courses. They have scoring clubs on every hole, and every par 5, there's not a par 5 they can't reach anymore. So I really think they've taken the aspect of driving a golf ball and made it almost an equalizer. The ball and the drivers made it an equalizer where they all hit it about 300 yards plus. Mm-hmm. And 300 yards in the air is still a tremendous long way, but it's amazing how many guys can do it nowadays. And that just takes all the trouble out of the golf courses. They're flying all the bunkers, they're cutting corners. If I did that, I wouldn't sleep. I couldn't wait to get to a golf course and see what I could do to it. But, what goes with that, though, is they're dispersed. When they're a little off, they're going to hit it on another planet somewhere. But it does seem like it's just bomb it and gouge it out of the rough if they're in the rough. And the weeks they're on, it's I remember Mickelson saying a story where I was walking with him last year at the Players Championship. And we were talking about the length of the golf ball. And, Phil's always about getting long and bombing it and all that. He has a huge golf swing. And he's very entertaining. But he literally brought up Dustin Johnson. We were talking about him. And I mentioned Dustin when he won the Open at Oakmont, how he was driving the ball so good that week that it just wasn't fair. And Phil just threw out, he said, when Dustin's on his game, it's not a fair fight. And it's getting to be more like that, and that's what DeChambeau's trying to do. It's just not a fair fight. If he's on his game with his driver and he's 30 yards ahead of the next longest guy on the tour and he's 70 yards ahead of the average guy on tour, that's not a fair fight if he's on his driver game. Yeah,
well, the horse may be out of the barn at this point. This is maybe what we're seeing with golf, and the future of golf is right now. Let's get back to Taylor, your son, and he's also a Monday qualifier at the Korn Ferry Tour, the King and Bear Classic at World Golf Village in St. Augustine. Tell me about how his game is progressing. And I know in that event, he averaged about 306 off the tee. So how old was he when he was able to outdrive you, Fred?
He was about 16 when he started lasering me and saying, Dad, I got you by 40. I got you by 50. But Taylor has 124 ball speed. He's got 184 ball speed and 124 clubhead speed at his max. So he usually plays at about 119, 120 clubhead speed. So he can get on it. He's as long as Dustin almost. And has a beautiful game, beautiful short game. And that brings me up to a story. I think he has all the talent and all the tools to make it. And I was talking to Davis Love, and he has his son, Drew, that's also trying to get on tour, and Olin Brown. And we're talking about all the guys, all the sons that are trying to get on tour. Sure. And Davis threw this out. He just said, there's a lot of guys out there that have the talent that aren't even on the Korn Ferry or that are on the Korn Ferry that could win on the regular tour, but may never make it. They may never make it to the tour. You've got to get through that Korn Ferry somehow. That's not easy. It's hard enough to get on it, much less get to the next level. So the game of golf is really, really tough. And I think a part of that is that you got to find an aspect of the game where you can separate yourself with driving, and they've taken that away. Back in the day, you can go all the way back to Nicklaus. Nicklaus outpowered everybody back in the day. Greg Norman was long and straight. He separated himself with his driver. He was able to do that. Tiger was separating himself with the driver when he first started coming out, and I don't think it's very, very difficult to separate yourself with the driver nowadays. Although DeChambeau is the new guy that has managed to do that. Cameron Champ, another guy with superior length. He's the one that went past Dustin Johnson by 30 yards in the air. I mean, geez, a flip. It's ridiculous when you think of that. But it's just the state of the game of these kids. It's fun to watch them. They just got to find other ways to score. The irony of all that, though, is that if you still go to a stroke average and you average 69, you're still one of the best players on the planet. And you wouldn't think that, but just figure out a way to work on all the other aspects of your game. And when you're on, I mean, if you're averaging under 69 now, you're still one of the, if not the best player on the planet, you're one of them.
Sure.
And so there's no secret to what you got to shoot. You just got to go shoot it.
So let's get to a little return to golf here. And the fourth event in the PGA Tour's return to golf is going to be the Rocket Mortgage Classic up in Detroit. And as you mentioned, Ally will be at the end of the month, also in Michigan. Just some of your observations about the return to golf and what you've seen so far, and maybe what you anticipate on PGA Tour Champions when you get back to work, Fred.
Well, I think it's great that we're back playing live golf, and I think the world, everybody talks about being starved to death with sports or lack thereof of live sports, and I think NASCAR's come back and have done it without fans, even in the, in the grandstands, and we're doing it without fans, but at least we're back out there competing. And I think golf is probably in this world of COVID, it's got to be the safest thing to do, and not have as much risk of transmitting the disease to another person. But obviously we're getting some test positives, and that's an issue, and they're making it a big issue. You obviously don't want this to get out of hand again, but it's really frustrating. It's just, I have an opinion that I think it's getting, I hate to say it, but I think it's getting a little blown out of proportion right now. And the reason I say that, they're getting so many more people being tested, that the numbers of positives are going to naturally go up. But I haven't heard that the death rate, God forbid, has not gone up with it. And if anything, the percentage has gone down with more positives and less death rate. And it's just a really tough thing. I can't wait till we get past this deal. But I do love the fact that we're out playing again, and I'm hoping we're able to keep going and we can get back to being normal. I hate that phrase, new normal, because new normal is dysfunctional. It doesn't, I just feel so bad for like people in the restaurant world and the hotel world and everything else, where you rely on numbers, and the numbers aren't there to support their livelihood. And I know we got to be careful, but geez, it's getting to be really frustrating. And I know everybody's frustrated and everybody's scared to a certain level. And we never had to deal with this before.
Well, one last word on something you mentioned earlier, and that's going to Firestone. And as the 2005 Players Champion, of course, you'll be at the Bridgestone Senior Players Championship. It's the second in the restart, scheduled-wise, for PGA Tour Champions. You didn't get to go last year, Fred. What are you looking forward to about that particular layout? That's like you said, it's a special
Actually, I
place.
was there. I withdrew. I was there on the range trying to go for my tee time, and I couldn't even move. So I withdrew, and Ken Duke got in for me. And actually, he had a good tournament. I remember that. But I look forward to it. That's a great venue. I tell you, you got to play that golf course. That's probably one of our most demanding golf courses that anybody will play on either tour. It's very good driver golf course. You got to play really well. Retief won. Jay Haas made a great run at him. I think it's fantastic that we came in on the heels behind the regular tour, and they thought so good of us for having us come there and continue the tradition of playing competitive golf at Firestone.
Well, I can't wait to see you out there. 11 events in 15 weeks. I'm glad you're back and healthy. I'm glad we have a chance to speak. Fred Funk, always a pleasure. You know that. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're great, Vince. Thanks so much.